Welcome to a special holiday edition of the GOTO podcast. In this episode, we ask a few of our favorite authors what dev books they would give as a gift. GOTO gathers the brightest minds in the software community to help developers tackle projects today, plan for tomorrow, and create for a better future. Stay up to date with the latest in tech through GOTO's top-rated events, held online and in person in cities like Chicago, Amsterdam, London, and Copenhagen, and by subscribing to the GOTO Conference's YouTube channel, where you can find thousands more high-quality dev talks. Learn more at Gotopia.tech.
Hello, I'm Eoin Woods. It's been a pleasure to be part of the GOTO Book Club this year, and as Christmas is approaching, we thought it would be fun to nominate books that either we'd like to receive as presents or we'd like to give as presents. I've got three. My first one, rather unsurprisingly, is Liz Rice's excellent book on container security. I interviewed Liz as part of the GOTO Book Club series. It's a terrific book. It's terrific because, firstly, it explains containers from the absolute fundamentals, gets you to build one from the command line, and secondly, it tells you all you're going to need to know about the very important topic of container security. My second book is Duncan McGregor and Nat Price's book, Java to Kotlin. I love the Kotlin language, and I've been using it now for a couple of years. When people move to Kotlin, though, it's sometimes deceptively close to Java, and they don't really make use of its full power. Nat and Duncan have done a great job of explaining what the important parts of Kotlin are and how to really make the move into the core of the language, as opposed to just updating your Java syntax. And talking of Java, my third book is from my colleague, Laurentius Vilka. It's Spring, Start Here. Lots and lots of people have been using Spring for years, but it's really easy to just use complex frameworks like Spring by copying other people's examples and getting by. Laurentius' book's fantastic because it explains all of the fundamentals you need to really understand the framework and make the most use of it. And of course, it's done in Laurentius' very direct, clear, and engaging style. So those are the three books that I'd like to receive for Christmas. I hope you get what you want as well.
Hi everyone from the GOTO Book Club community. I'm Fabio Pereira, author of the book Digital Nudge and the masterclass The Psychology of UX. And it's an honor for me to be part of this community. And I've been asked by the organizers of the community, now that the holiday season is just around the corner, if I were to give someone a book, an inspirational book, or recommend a book at the end of the year, which book would it be? And then I actually chose two books. They are very related and they have something around them, which is around focus. One of the books that I want to recommend, and to be really honest, I really like to hear books, to listen to audiobooks. And I want to show you the first one, which is called Make Time. Make Time is a book from Jake Knapp and John Zeratsky. Jake Knapp is the author of the book Design Sprint, which is also an amazing book. And Make Time is a book about how to focus on what matters every day in your life. We live in a world with an overload of information. We have access to everything that we want on the internet, and then focusing and creating the opportunities during the time that we have on the day, because everyone only has 24 hours, to focus on what really matters is really important. The second book, which is called Indistractable. Indistractable is an amazing book from Winder.AI. Nir is the author of the book Hooked, which is a best-selling book as well. And he released Indistractable, how to control your attention and choose your life. I would really recommend these two books, Make Time and Indistractable. Have an amazing end of the year. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everyone. And I hope to see you all in 2022 as part of the GOTO community.
Hi, my name's Dave Farley. I'd like to recommend two books as gifts for people. One of them is 50 Quick Ideas to Improve Your User Stories by Gojko Adzik and David Evans. It's a fantastic book that's got lots of tips and ideas that will just jog your memory about things when you get stuck, when you're trying to divide stories up into smaller chunks or come up with more effective stories. I carry it around on my iPad to remind me when I get stuck. It's a fantastic book. The other book that I'd recommend has been important to me for a long time now, which is Domain Driven Design by Eric Evans. It's quite a difficult book, but I think it's profound and important in the way it talks about design. I must confess, when I first read it, I thought, isn't this just what object orientation is supposed to be? But that's kind of the point. It was getting to some really important things, and it gave us a language to describe and address design at both the fine-grained level and the massive level of big systems. And I think that there are some genuinely important ideas in that book. So those are my two recommendations. Happy Christmas.
Season's greetings. My name's Kevlin Henney. I've been asked what books I would give or love to receive, and given that I've got them, I have enjoyed receiving them, for this holiday season, if you're stuck for gift ideas or even looking what to do in the new year. Now, I tried to keep the list short, and I was unable to. So I've got 5 books that touch on software development, but also broader inspiration, and also, what to do in your spare time. So I'm going to start off, let's just dive into the code. Your Code is a Crime Scene by Adam Thornhill. This book was published in 2015. It's a book of code analytics. What I love about this is that it really brings to life the idea that the misnomer we currently use for version control systems, people call them repos, repository. It sounds like a dumping ground. And sometimes that's how it feels. They are version control systems. That means they have a history. And they are associated with people. There is a sociology here that we can understand about how our code evolves over time and with respect to people, rather than treating it as some static artifact with no history. The whole point about history is that we understand the past, so we are able to act on it meaningfully in the future. So there's a lot of good ideas in here. Okay, the next one, sticking with that kind of theme, the Pragmatic Programmers, who were in fact the publishers of this book, published the 20th anniversary edition of the Pragmatic Programmer. This was actually published end of 1999, but its copyright date was 2000. The second edition, 2020. A lot of really good stuff in here. The original book was very much a touchstone for the software craft community. It played an integral part in conversations about the technical side of agile development and gave us a number of ideas that we still use today that have been popularized, things like the DRY principle, don't repeat yourself, which is widely misunderstood to just be about duplicate code. Here they redress that. They update the examples. We have 20 years more experience with this. This is not at the beginning of this kind of era. We are now in the midst of it. It's moved to the next generation of advice, as well as clarifying what people are actually talking about in terms of the first edition. So yeah, this is well worth your time as a software developer. Now, you're probably a little bit nerdy, especially if you're watching this. On the GOTO Book Club, there was a live event relatively recently that I hosted with Hannah Fry and Simon Singh, and you can find interviews and sessions on the GOTO Book Club live site. And Hannah Fry with her co-conspirator Adam Rutherford, I say co-conspirator because they do a BBC Radio 4 series, The Curious Cases of Rutherford and Fry, and they kind of distilled a lot of these kind of thoughts into complete guide to absolutely everything, abridged. I was fortunate enough also to see them do the kind of the live show relatively recently. A lot of good stuff in here. Debunks a number of commonly misheld views, but also asks questions you never even thought to ask and answers them. Highly approachable, highly digestible. This is a great read. Kind of sticking with a couple of themes here, in terms of debunking, that probably the most significant book I've read this year is Humankind, A Hopeful History by Rutger Bregman. And I say most significant because I found this a moving and positive book. What he does in this book is he takes a historical and sociological view to debunk and undermine the kind of narrative we give ourselves, that humans are not, well, we're not nice, the world can be, a bad place and all the rest of it. And if we turn on the news, then this seems to often be the case. But he actually points out that our strength is actually kindness. By default, human beings are actually much nicer than we make out to be. But news cycles, news outlets our desire for novelty, and the fact that this is structured to reward us with that which is novel and exciting and unusual, unfortunately leads us in the wrong direction, away from understanding our better nature. And he goes through and kind of explores quite thoroughly and quite positively actually who we are. So yeah, this is, I found this uplifting and thought-provoking, definitely worth your time. And I'm going to close with something kind of sort of a counterbalance. Work of Fiction by Emily St. John Mandel, Station 11. Absolutely wonderful book. This was published in 2014. It's been made into a TV series. I haven't seen that. I can't comment on the adaptation and the quality of that. But this book is about a global pandemic, although a little more severe than the one we are currently experiencing. I actually read this whilst travelling just as the pandemic was beginning to break. I was travelling last February and realised my choice of book whilst travelling could have been better. But the Emily St. John Mandel's writing style is just wonderful. I would quite happily read a shopping list if she wrote one out and published it. But this is a kind of a better post-apocalypse story, and her narrative style is well worth your time. So, season's greetings. I hope that's been of some use and some inspiration, and have a happy new year.
Hi there, it's Phil Winder here, CEO of Winder.AI and author of O'Reilly's Reinforcement Learning. The book I'd like to recommend for this Christmas is a book called Practical Fairness by Eileen Nielsen. And I thought this was quite a diversion from O'Reilly's typical books. So Eileen, this lady, she comes from a legal background, not a technical one. And in this book, she's talking about how we can make machine learning more fair and to make the processes involved more secure and more safe. And I really liked this book, not necessarily for the technical content, even though there is some technical content in there. There is code that you can use and tinker with and use in your projects. But really, I think that this is just one of the first of many interesting books on the place that AI and ML should take in modern society. I know that companies are under increasing scrutiny to make their models fair and to make sure that their users are protected. So if you're interested in that subject and you have a slightly technical leaning, I definitely recommend this book. Really enjoyable read from someone in a background that we're kind of not used to. So it's really nice to be seeing authors that are coming from different disciplines. So that's my recommendation. Also probably should recommend my book, Reinforcement Learning, by O'Reilly. So check that out as well. But anyway, thanks a lot.
The Art of Thinking Clearly by Rolf Dobelli. This is a brilliant book about all this stupidity, all these silly patterns we apply to the world around us, to everything we experience, just to make it fit into our picture of the world. And what I really like about this book is it helps me understand how I behave, many of the things I do and don't do, my reaction patterns, and it helps me understand a lot of the world around me. And especially if we combine it with Think Again by Adam Grant, it really helps me understanding myself and other people around me. These two, that would be the perfect Christmas gift this year.
I want to recommend two books for the Christmas season. Team Topologies and Sapiens. Team Topology is written by Matthew Skelton and Manuel Pais. So what is the book about? Software architecture and software delivery cannot be successful without a good organizational architecture. And team topology really improves our understanding of organizational architecture and helps us forming teams and enabling those teams to be more effective or help them to meet their challenges. Really cool book. It should have been written 15 years ago. So everyone who is dealing with cross-functional teams, the book is a must. Another must, in my opinion, is Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. Harari, he tells the history of our species in a very funny manner. So there is lots of dense information, how sapiens became the only animal which can believe in things which do not actually exist. and which was really interesting, and how that skill made us the dominating species. Really interesting and entertaining book.
Hey, Mike Amundsen here, author of Design and Build Great Web APIs and a new upcoming book, RESTful Web Microservices Cookbook. But the book I want to talk to you about today, the one I recommend you buy all your friends for the holiday season, is Computer Lib by Ted Nelson. It goes by another name, Dream Machines by Ted Nelson. And in fact, it's two books in one back to back. It was originally self-published in the 70s by Ted Nelson, the person who invented words like hypertext and hyperlink and so many other really cool aspects of what we know of as the web today. I recommend this book because it's good for everybody, whether you're just a developer, an architect, or just a user of the internet. This sort of gives us the idea of what we thought the internet would be like in the 70s, and it's still full of all sorts of great ideas and great information. You can find this book online. Just type in Ted Nelson Computer Lib and you'll find a site where you can order it directly. Make sure you order the big coffee table version of it. Don't get tricked. It's a bit pricey, but I guarantee you'll love it, and I think it's a fantastic book to give all your computer friends in the coming year, and I hope to see you in 2022 as well. Happy holidays.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the GoTo Podcast. Head over to gotopia.tech for lots more content from the brightest minds in software development.